Hey guys, your boy Anime Scout here, and just like how I promised in the previous video, I will be covering Midnight Shadows. And unlike in my previous video, I will be covering more about the protagonist's life and their backstory, since this time around the main mystery is surrounding basically them. So let's go back to the cutest horror game franchise ever. Just like in Yomawari Not Alone, Haru's town has deadly spirits roaming around the town, and since the people of town no longer worship the protective spirits of this town are none other than the scissor-wielding spirit you frequently encounter in Midnight Shadows, Mr. Kotowari. This spirit hunts down both Haru and Yui throughout the game. However, it stops its pursuits once Haru cleans its shrine and pays her respect. Kotowari's name origins is native to Japan, and when translating its meaning, it could be interpreted as refusal or non-acceptance. Remember this fact because it has great importance. A spirit that is quite opposite to Kotowari is Malice. Malice is the final boss you encounter towards the ends of Midnight Shadows. It is speculated that Malice was inspired by the yokai Tsuchigumo, which is a huge man-eating spider that would inhabit the mountains, trapping any nearby humans with its web, only to then consume them. Malice has a lot of spider-like traits. However, this spirit is made up of several human parts, which give it more of a monstrous look. It produces huge webs, which is to be expected. However, what's interesting is its signature red web is actually not web at all, but rather red strings. Which in Japanese culture, the red string of fate is a string that connects two people spiritually to each other, which means two people are meant to meet at a certain part of their lives. And it's up to these individuals to knit together a relationship of some sort, and normally it's seen as something romantic, but it could be platonic as well. And now that I've covered the basics, it's time to explain the plot. Yui's story. The story of Yui is truly a tragic and, well, a depressing one. Yui is a girl going through a lot, with an absent father and a mentally unstable mother. Her home life is anything from pleasant. The only main source of happiness she has is her two dogs and her best friend Haru. However, she was about to lose those two things, and they were all going to happen in the same week. During that week, one of Yui's dogs passed away, and her best friend Haru gave her the news that she was moving, which was devastating to Yui. So on the same day as the festival, Haru planned to bury her dog and say goodbye to her best friend. And once she was finished, she left on her way to meet Haru for the last time. However, her plans were about to be changed by Malice. Somehow along the way, she got mind influenced by a mysterious voice, and this voice convinced a heartbroken Yui to set up a noose and hang herself. So keep in mind that all these events happened before she went to the festival. The strange hypnotism that caused her to kill herself also made her unaware that she was actually dead. And because of this, she does not know or can accept her death. That's why she could still manifest herself normally to Haru. After the fireworks, the two girls get separated when they encounter something paranormal, and Yui goes on her own. From here, she gets transported to different locations in town. Yui's first encounter is with Mr. Kotowari, which I believe he attacks Yui to show her that she is dead and needs to move on into the afterlife. However, she takes a long time to realize this, and Malice uses Yui in order to bait Haru into deadly locations, so Haru can then die to these powerful spirits inside those locations. Slowly, Yui realizes that she is dead and begins to freak out. At this point, she is beyond scared because she never wanted to die and is afraid that she's going to end up more lonely, which is something that does happen to her as she is dead, and her negative emotions causes her to attack Haru. However, with Haru's help, she's able to calm down and decides to confront the truth and go back to the mountains, where she confronts and attacks Malice. And in the process, she's able to injure one of Malice's eyes. However, it wasn't enough to defeat it, and instead, she is once again under Malice's influence. Haru heads to the mountains to face off against Malice. Suddenly, she starts to hear Malice's voice, but she isn't affected since she is mentally strong and there is no vulnerability that Malice can expose. However, she can't get the voices out of her head, not until she says the phrase, "I can't take it anymore," which is a key phrase that Mr. Kotowari's shrine says will summon it to help others when you need. With the spirit's help, she's able to get the voice out of her head, and she's given a pair of scissors that will help her proceed along throughout her journey. From there, Haru enters the cave and manages to avoid danger by following directions from the visions. Now, many say that these visions are from the past, however, that's not the full answer. Yes, the visions do happen in the past like we saw Yui in the past, but we also saw the future in which Haru and Yui escape together, which makes me theorize that these visions aren't really about time, but rather fate. You see, Yui and Haru have been fighting against fate from the very beginning. For instance, Yui not accepting her death and roaming as nor a spirit or a living person, to Haru's powerful bond and not letting Yui move on and still being able to manifest herself to her. They are both going against the natural order of life, fighting against an unavoidable fate. And that's why Haru starts to break down after she sees the last vision. She sees that there is nothing she can do to change their fate. The only thing that she can do is kill Malice and break the special bond between two best friends. And that way, they're both able to move on. So, Haru faces off with an injured Alice, and thanks to the scissors given to her by Mr. Yomawari, she's able to cut the red strings, which I could assume are parts of Malice that keep it alive. After cutting all the strings that keep Malice alive, it goes down. Or so we think. With its final attempt to take down Haru, it uses the girl's bond to wrap down Haru so Yui could freak out and kill Haru. Haru desperately tries to cut her bond with Yui, but her bond is so strong that the only way to destroy a friendship like that would require an equally powerful will. She cuts their inseparable bond by calling out to Mr. Yomawari. She sacrifices her arm in the process. And from there, Yui rescues Haru this time, as they see each other for one last time. This game tells us that often in life there are people we are just destined to meet. Nothing could have ever changed that. But just as much as that rule applies to meeting, it also applies to leaving. Because we all have to let go of someone at some point. And we all have to accept it and move on without them. This was a really long video and it took a lot of work to make. So let me know if these are just something that you guys are enjoying down in the comments below. And that's it for today, guys, and I'll see you guys later.